What's up, people? Welcome to the newest episode of Real Estate is Local. I had a great one today. I got to talk with my friend Melissa Anderson. She is out of St. Johns County down here in Florida. So if you're thinking about moving to St. Augustine or that area, definitely hit Melissa up. I had a fantastic time chatting with her, getting all sorts of nuggets about that, that community that she's in, and also like some investing tips too, and a little hidden gem of a market that if you're looking to buy in Florida, might be the one for you. Thanks for stopping by. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. But without further ado, here is Real Estate is Local with Melissa Anderson. All righty. Melissa, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about yourself, Colin?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks so much. I know beginning of the year, it's kind of a busy time. I know you're trying to put your pipeline together, but it really means a lot to take an hour to chat with me today and hop on the podcast. You and I met at EXPCon down in Miami. You are a fellow real estate Floridian as well, and we'll dive into all that good stuff. But, it was so great getting to know you, but I figured we'd take an hour today to chat and let everybody else get to know you. And who knows, they might be moving to St. Johns County, and we'll talk about all that good stuff. So, let's dive into it. Let's dive right into the guest spotlight here. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell your real estate story?
Yeah, so Melissa Anderson, like you said, I'm with eXp Realty, and I'm here in Northeast Florida, primarily focused on St. Johns County, and living the dream. Living the dream. No, I absolutely love it. So I'm actually not that seasoned. I'm going into my fourth year of real estate. However, I've been in the real estate realm for a lot longer than that. But it's truly my passion. I absolutely love what I do. Like, I wake up hungry with the drive to get going and to help as many people as possible.
Absolutely. Well, and while we got that topic open, right? Like, what talk about your career that you did before and that Air Force experience and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I've worn many hats in my life. So my very first career was obviously the Air Force, and I served for 9 years. I joined when I was 19. I served 6 years overseas in England and Turkey, and I got out when I had my daughter, who is my only child. And from there, I pursued my bachelor's degree in elementary education. So I have a degree in that for K through 8. I taught school, first grade, for like a year, and quickly realized that was not my path. So did that. And then I actually had a brick and mortar business for a little bit of time. And then I got into social media marketing. And that's kind of how I started working with a bunch of real estate agents and helping them with their social media marketing. And and then I got my license and I started that on my own.
Nice. Well, that's amazing. And obviously, EXP is a great company. What's it like? Do you like working for them? I guess you don't really work for them. You work with them, right? That's kind of the whole deal.
Yeah. It is amazing. I will have to say I'm probably one of the very few agents that you're ever going to meet that's been with the same brokerage. Many people that I know have, and that's fine. Like, you have to find the fit for you, but I can't imagine it. I mean, knock on wood, I say that now, but I can't ever imagine that I would leave that brokerage. It's been phenomenal. And I'm a female solo agent. Like, I didn't join a team or anything like that, but I am connected. We're called like Powerhouse within EXP, and we're like a huge group of women that are just like nationwide that are female solo agents. And just to have that collaboration and working together and bouncing ideas off each other, that's mainly how I've been able to have like the success that I've had so far.
That's super cool. Yeah, so I guess describe that a little bit more, right? Like, for anybody that's out there that's a female agent that's solo, like what is that like, having that support network? Because I know, like, personally, the only thing I care about, and I talk to agents all the time when they like get in, it's like, hey, you just need support. That's the one thing that you need, like, if anything.
Well, I will say, like, for any real estate agent, especially if you're deciding to go solo, if you're not joining a team, you really have to have self-drive. You have to be self-motivated, number one. If you don't have that, if you need someone to be able to, like, this is what you do this, then you should probably look at joining a team off the bat. But one, knowing that you have that drive and that ambition to go after it and to be self-motivated. But yeah, the female solo agent, and it's just like breaking barriers and doing things differently. It's like,
Right.
how can you, raise a family, take care of your home, do all these things without like burning yourself out, and it's using like 21st century methods. Like I'm not going to cold call. Like that's not my thing. Like I don't want to be on the phone cold calling people. Like you can tell what's authentic to someone and what's not. And a lot of us use social media and video and reaching people that way, and two, like really building that authentic connection with our buyers and sellers and that relationship. So it's not so much a transaction, it's a relationship and what you can and how you can help.
Yeah. I mean, video is so powerful, right? I mean, it's such
Absolutely.
a great way to convey like who you are as a person. That's why I love doing this, as we talked about before. I guess before we dive too much, like all in on real estate, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's do one last like personal Melissa question. Like, what do you do for fun when you're not helping clients? Like, what's your favorite thing?
I would love to give you some kind of exciting answer and seem, like I'm the most interesting person on the planet, but I am not. I love to travel. So I'm really like explore new places, experiences, adventure. Love that. I'm really big into exploring new areas of like in our area and supporting local business. I love to read. Yeah, that's about it.
Nonfiction or business only?
Both. So I used to be
Ah.
really big into just like, learning like business, finance, self-help, stuff like that. And that would be all that I would read, but I'm trying to get more into like actually reading for fun.
Yeah, right. I know. I couldn't imagine that. Like I'm just such a video guy. It's bad now. It's bad. But I try to ground myself. I try to read. I'm the same way as you. I'm a finance nerd, so I love reading. I pretty much only read business books. It's kind of fun. It's like the only way I can get myself to read. Uh,
You'll have to
that
share
being
your
said,
resources with me then, because I'm really nerding out on like investing and stocks and all of that right now.
cool.
So yeah, you'll have to
Yeah.
send your
Yeah.
recommendations.
Well, so at the end, like in the closing minute, what we'll do is I'll get a book recommendation from you, and maybe we'll share one back and forth, and
Okay.
maybe learn a nugget or two. I love it. It's such a great opportunity and time to like be alive right now because of YouTube and all these other ways you can learn, and the resources that are out there and all the people that are writing books now is just so awesome. But listen, enough about us. Let's talk about what you have branded yourself as, right? Let's talk about St. Johns County because you are the St. Johns County realtor, right?
That's
So
it.
let's break it down, right? Like, what are you seeing in your market right now? Well, first of all, let's not even get into that. Let's describe where that is for people that aren't in Florida and what that is, the cities and towns and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so St. Johns County is located in Northeast Florida. It's, borders Duval and on the other side of the river, Clay County. We have St. Augustine here, Ponte Vedra, um, St. Augustine, like I said. But yeah, it's kind of just St. John's. And there's a ton of different communities within St. John's, St. Augustine, Ponte Vedra Beach,
Nice.
Volano, all those areas.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, just driving up 95, like where 4 and 95 connects, and then you go up. Oh, it's just beautiful up there. Like I know I didn't realize like how big Jacksonville is either. So it's basically like just south of that. Do you get a lot of people that like work in Jacksonville and come and buy down in St. Johns County, or is there not a lot of that?
Well, it depends. I mean, we have a ton of people who work from home here. I think I just read an article that it said like Nocatee here in St. Johns County had like 1,000% increase in work from home, remote work from home workers. That was
Wow.
so we have a lot of people who work from home. And just random facts. So Jacksonville is the largest city in the United States by land mass.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yes. So it's huge. I mean, you can be driving for like 45 minutes and you're still in Jacksonville, probably even for longer than that. But yeah, so it's massive. But we have a
Yeah.
lot of work from home people here, remote workers.
Interesting. I mean, it makes sense, right? Like closer to the beach and all the good stuff over there, right? So, well, let's break down like some different trends and stuff that you're seeing in the market, right? For anybody that's out there that's house hunting, hey, if you're looking in that area, I would definitely check out your YouTube channel, which we'll highlight at the end anyway, right? Because you're always making videos. I learned a lot just by watching your channel about like the stuff that goes on over there. Like, what's some trends that people need to be looking for? Like, are there some good little hidden spots? All the good stuff. Give
Yeah,
us
so
some nuggets of information.
yeah, so I will say when people are interested in St. Johns County, one of the main reasons that they research this area is for schools. So they're usually families, they're wanting like a top rated school district. And we've had so many new schools like K through 8s and high schools that have opened within probably the past 4 years just to keep up with the influx of people moving to this area. But mainly that's it. I mean, people are looking here that have families that want to live close to the beach and have kind of that relaxed, you know, on vacation lifestyle. But we're also so close to things too. I will mention this because when I was thinking about the podcast today, and I know one of the questions it was talking about like a hidden gem.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is not in St. Johns County, but this will be like my little insider tip if people want to take advantage of it. The next hotspot in our area, like Northeast Florida, is going to be Green Cove Springs.
Green Cove Springs.
Green Cove Springs. That's going to be the next hotspot. So if somebody's watching this video 5 years from now, they're like, oh. So if people want to get on like the ground floor and take advantage of investing, buying a home in there now, this would be the time. It's going to blow up.
Yeah, I'm going to write it down over here for myself. Green Cove Springs. I like it. Now my cat's trying to join the podcast. Down. What are you doing?
Oh, what kind of cat do you have?
I have 2 black cats. I got this guy here is Vinny, and then my other guy Tony is my podcast assistant. He's sleeping in the chair.
Vinny and Tony?
Yeah, the fellas. They're good fellas. So yes, I like to yell at them and say, "Oh, get out of there!" So tried to think of something creative to be able to yell at them and still be, kind of nice in the same regret.
So you're a cat daddy?
Unfortunately, yeah. I shouldn't say that. I love them, but like I was always a dog guy, through and through. And then now, of course, they bonded with me, and I love them, and I can't live without them. It's just kind of how it goes. So, all right. So we got into the Green Cove Springs, right? Okay. So that you would say that's kind of the hidden gem, right? All right. So that's awesome. Anybody that's looking to invest, cool. Let's talk about like what advice you would give to somebody that's like a first timer that's trying to navigate that market in St. Johns County.
So I'd say for like first time home buyers, the most important, like a number one step is to make sure that you have all your finances in order. So that would be when I would refer them like, hey, your first step before we even do anything is to get on a phone call with you and decide like, what would this look like? How much money do you need? And also there's a lot of first time home buyer programs out there that, people don't know about. But one is just getting your finances in order because there's a lot of expenses that come with the home purchase and your monthly payment that you just don't get the whole picture. So one is let's just get everything up front so we know what we're looking at and we're not wasting time or, getting disappointed at looking at things that are maybe outside of the budget.
Yeah.
So that's the first step. That's the first thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's just like any other market, right? I would imagine there's always going to be, you got to try to determine with your realtor, after you determine the budget with the lender, you really got to try to leverage your agent to really help you like extract exactly what you want. I always say that. Tell them as much information as possible because then they can guide you and put you where you want to go.
Exactly. And if you're a first time home buyer and maybe you want to be in an area that has good schools because you know that you're going to start a family soon, but maybe you're a younger couple and maybe that's not even something that you're considering for a point of time, then you may not want to live, where the taxes are higher because you're paying for all of the schools. So then we might look at somewhere else, a different area, but yeah.
It's underrated. I tell you, the tax piece is very underrated. I know insurance, and that we'll talk about insurance after this, so we don't have to get into it too much. But, taxes are one of those things. I mean, it can literally make or break 200. I mean, sometimes it could be a $500 monthly swing. It's crazy. just one school district over, and you've got a $500 difference, and the house might be a little bit bigger even. So definitely matters. What would you say for like anybody that's looking in that market? Would you say that it's like a buyer's market yet? Is it a seller's market still, or is it in limbo?
It's definitely been a buyer's market for a period of time. I'd say probably almost all of last year as well. I mean, it really switched because we kind of gauge that by months on market. And yeah, it's definitely has swayed over to a buyer's market. There's deals to be had. Sellers are being super negotiable. And I would say that maybe mid year last year is when it kind of switched over. The earlier part of last year was still very much a seller's market, multiple offer situation. And then we kind of switched over. So I think we're probably going to be more so in a buyer's market for a little bit of time here.
Cool. Interesting. So what are you seeing for days on market on average then?
So I haven't pulled the stats for December yet, but I know like looking at November, I mean, we were probably like 70, 75, which is
Interesting.
up there. But
Yeah,
too,
no,
in the holidays, that impacts
yeah,
things.
for sure. Yeah, it's so tough, right? Like, I mean, I was talking to so many people, financial advisors. I mean, a lot of those guys, right? Year end, like they got to get their stuff in, but a lot of them they're cold callers the same way anybody else is. It's just so funny. Everything shuts down from like literally the end of November till pretty much now. People just
Yeah.
kind of, there's just so many excuses. I think personally, like that's the best time ever to buy. I bought my first house. I closed in December, and it was awesome. Everybody was super quick. Everything got done super quick. But yeah, so that makes sense. So it really is an opportunity then. Like, I mean, I know you have a VA background, being that you were an Air Force veteran. I mean, that's good news for them, right? I mean, that sounds like some seller credits could be negotiated in some things.
Absolutely. Now, I just did a reel earlier today because I was talking about how even though, so let's say the latter part of last 2024, the market slowed down a little bit, and then it's it really slowed down. Like houses were sitting on the market for a considerable amount of time, but now, I mean, it's only the 10th of January, and we're seeing those buyers into the market. I mean, they are coming in strong,
Oh, they're
so it's
coming.
really exciting.
They're coming. I mean, I just anybody that is on the cusp of I don't know, maybe we should wait, maybe we should wait for interest rates, maybe we should wait for this. Don't. You're going to be sorely mistaken. I just bought last year, and we took a higher rate on our property just to get the property because we know, I mean, this thing was pre-foreclosure and it was appreciating at like 45 grand a year every year while it was rotting. So, I mean, the thing's nice now, right? And we're going to rent it out and so on and so forth. But it's just such a unique opportunity while everything is in limbo. Interest rates are in limbo, transition between presidencies, all these other things. So, but yeah, okay. So let's pivot away from not necessarily talking about real estate, because of course we're always going to talk about real estate. But let's kind of do some rapid fire questions, right? And I sent you an email and I gave you a couple.
Okay.
Can you? I don't know if we're having some. Just gave me a notification. Are you still with me?
I'm here. Yep. Hold on, let's see. Is it working?
I think so. I think we should be good. But, anyways, a little bit of a blooper session, but that's
Okay.
totally fine. So let's get into some rapid fire questions, right? And these are going to be more. Today, I wanted to try to go more business focused for you, right? So what's your favorite productivity hack that you would say? I hate to say that, but listen, give us the goods. What keeps you on top of your game?
I would say do not disturb on your phone.
Okay.
Like implementing do not disturb and not having notifications. So like mail, like your email, all that stuff. Like I don't have any of those notifications on my phone, like at all. And then I know if I need to do focused work, like put my phone on do not disturb, maybe set it even in another room. that's how I get stuff done. Yeah, the phone is such a distraction, and if you really have things that you need to get knocked out, and you can also set it up on your phone. Like if you know you have an important call coming through, or say family stuff, like my kid, like I need her to come through if there's an emergency. You can set it up where certain people can come through the do not disturb and still be reached. But other than that, that's probably how I get the most done.
Cool. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be honest, it's hard for us, like, in our industry, because, like, I mean, I'll never forget the first time we were in Buffalo at my girlfriend's grandparents, and it was the first time since I became a loan officer that I had no service. I was freaking out. Well, I was losing it because I just, like, missing a phone call is literally missing a paycheck in our business, and it's not that people are paychecks; they're not. It's just the reality of you and I. We need clients to feed ourselves, and so, when I miss one, oftentimes it's like, man, is that realtor going to send me another person because I missed them? Is that person going to go run to another lender? Are they
Yeah.
trying to close today? I just freak out and panic. So it's interesting, but you are so right. Like, I have to just put my phone in the other room.
You do. And I mean, and obviously I'm not saying to do this like during peak hours, like peak work hours, but you can set up your time like, oh, I need to get up a little bit earlier because I need to knock this out. Or like for sure, like past a certain time at night. I mean, probably you're the same as me. Like I don't have set work hours. So it could be like, depending on how my schedule goes, I could still be working well into the night.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, I'm not really going to be doing business unless I'm out with the client, past 7 o'clock or something like that. So,
for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You got to be smart about it.
Yeah. So, what do you think? I know that, like, it's tough because, like, even me, like, trying to think back and remember deals we've done after, sometimes it's just like, man, wow, it's crazy the different types of deals, right? But if you had to look back and say, what's one of your most exciting moments that you've had, like, with a client, maybe a success story or something?
I wouldn't say it's the most exciting, but I will say it's the most memorable. And it was actually my first listing, and his name was Dallas, and we actually still keep in contact. I reach out to him several times throughout the year. And him and his wife moved here to St. Augustine. And this is where they were retiring. Like, he was an amazing photographer. She, I think, was a prior nurse. And about, I think, a year or so after they moved here, she ended up getting sick. And unfortunately, got cancer and passed away. No. So that's why he was needing to sell his home, because he was moving back to California to be closer to family. And through that process of me listing his home, we became really close friends. And like, I would just go over and visit with him, and we would chat and talk about his life. I'm actually, hopefully I don't cry, but it was really meaningful. And just learning his story and keeping in contact with him and being able to, his home at that time, we had, I think, 7 or 8 offers on his home when we listed it. So he got what he wanted out of that, and was able to move back to California to be closer to family. And he's still a dear friend to this day. We keep in contact.
Wow, that's super cool. I mean,
yeah,
that really is what it's about. I don't really know any other way to describe it other than that. Like, I help it, especially when you do it for somebody that's been in a rough spot. It's the best. We just, not to take any air out from under that story, because wow, I'm about to cry myself. I gotta stop, like, looking over in your direction. I'm like, man, I'm gonna tear up here. We had recently helped a guy with a VA loan. Actually, he moved to Florida. I won't say his name because I'm not sure if I could share it, but he was actually a realtor back in New York, and he'd moved down here and got a new job. And long story short, he had a bankruptcy in his past, but it wasn't. We get a lot of bankruptcy stories. We get a lot of credit repair stories. This was actually like, oh my goodness, terrible tragedy. Something happened to one of his children, and life just caught up with him. Long story short, to be able to get him qualified and then be able to buy a house, and I think we were like 6 years out from a bankruptcy, which was, really unique with a VA loan. He, just listening to him talk about how pumped him and his wife were, they're living in an RV, like, to be back on track and like feel like he's got some sort of like grip on his life again. Like, that was really cool. I like that. And helping friends is my favorite. It really is.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's meaningful. Like I said at the beginning, it's not so much about the transaction. It's really about this relationship and how you are able, it is a transaction, but how through the transaction, you're able to build this relationship and make it meaningful and something that they can look back on as a positive experience, as instead of something that's stressful or, gosh, I'm glad that's over. It's like, wow, like that was really
it's cool.
Stress-free.
It's cool. Yeah. And even like calling back through, like, I know first of the year, we're 10 days in. So like I've been just, my team lead, Chris, and we've been calling a lot of our clients to connect with them and just kind of prepare them for the year and check in and make sure everything went well. And, all the good stuff. And it's just cool, like calling them back and they're excited and they did this and this to the house. And, hey, it's been great. You were great. Or, hey, they love to talk about Chris and talk about his customer service, which is awesome. So that's what we pride ourselves on anyway. But just to call them again and like hear that they're doing well, or, that they like what you helped them with is really cool. What do you like? I mean, that's cool. Like my last question is actually, what is your go-to strategy for building long-lasting client relationships? Is it personal connection?
For me, absolutely. So primarily I'm working with people who are relocating to this area from out of state. So when they reach out to me, which is primarily people find me through my YouTube channel, they're reaching out usually 6 months, even a year before they're ready to move. So I have 6 months to a year that I'm building a relationship with people and getting to know them, and then they fly in and we're spending time together, one on one. So it really is about that connection and just making it as seamless as possible for that move, because that's a major move. It's a major life change to move to a different state. And having been in the military and moved quite a bit, I know how stressful that is, and like wanting all of the information and making sure you can count on somebody on the other side that actually cares and that wants to take care of you. Um, and so
It's
I'd look
it's
at that.
stressful. I mean, moving in any way, shape, or form is super stressful. I love helping the VA clients PCS because I know like the headaches. Our mutual friend Cheyenne, right? Like I talk with her all the
Yeah.
time. And she goes through it sometimes, and I feel for her because these people, they don't really have any sort of say. They just kind of get up. Hey, you're gone. You got to go to Florida, or you got to go to Georgia, or wherever you go. So try to give a lot of grace when I work with those type of clients and understand that they're pretty stressed. And any client that moves is stressed, though. Home buying is stressful, right? And it's not easy. Everybody likes to, oh, I'll make it so easy.
Yeah.
You know,
I think the biggest thing too is just making sure that they have all of the information. So for me, like I like to have everything broken down, like step by step. Here's where we're at now. Here's what you can expect coming up. Here's what's in the future. And it's like laid out step by step so they know what to expect and there's no surprises. And then too, making it a little bit personal, especially if they have kids, like, hey, like when you get here, like here's some great spots. Like, oh, you'll want to have a date night. Like, here's a great restaurant, and resource recommendations as well.
for sure. Yeah. Well, and then you were talking about schools too, right? Like that's just a huge thing. Like I know, like obviously, hey, I'm not a mom, right? But if I was, I would imagine I'd be real concerned with where my child's going to go to school. Um, and being able to be a resource for them there is definitely awesome. Let's circle back to what you just said though about your YouTube channel, because I think it's super unique. I've taught classes before to agents about doing that type of thing because it allows the clients to build a relationship with you when you're not talking with them. Like elaborate on kind of how you've been able to, well, let's talk about the starting of it, right? Because like YouTube's terrifying when you start. Everybody loves to watch videos, but I mean, doing podcasts, doing videos really has opened my eyes to how hard some of these people that do content really work. But what does that process look like for you? Was it terrifying at first? And talk about that and the
Yeah.
growth.
Let me tell you, Colin, when I made the decision to go in on YouTube, I was like, I'm going to do this. I gave myself like 6 months, I think, to go all in to try to figure this out. I probably spent the first week in tears, the whole week, trying to figure this out. Because I was like, I didn't hire an editor. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was just like consuming like all of this information, what to do, how to do it, all of these things. So it's overwhelming because it's like information overload. And then, so I'm like, okay, I kind of have an idea of what I want to do, and then trying to figure out how to edit and publish. It was so painful.
Oh,
So
so many
painful.
hours of my life I've lost looking at this computer screen I'm looking at right now, just trying to edit and like, no, I don't know if I like that. No, I don't know if I like. And then it's like we're salespeople too, and so like you sit there and I don't know if it works like that for you, but for me, I'm like, man, should I just be making phone calls right now? Like, should I even? Should I even try
But
to do this?
no, because video is evergreen and it's
It is.
constantly marketing on your behalf 24/7.
It
So
is.
that's the key is like YouTube is they're working, it's working for you behind the scenes when you're sleeping. People are watching your videos. So you can't beat it. It's just you have to be able to put in the effort and the work. And you know, I'm not trying to be the best videographer and
Right.
like person on YouTube. I'm just trying to get the information across.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, and
and
it's
people
very
will connect.
educational based too. Like that's what I love about your content. There's a guy by the name of Neil Dingra. I don't know if have you ever seen Neil? He's a loan officer, but he's a social media content creator. And he basically says, funny, educational, a mix of both. That's about the only thing that you can do. And so I tried to go as well education because it's just there's so much information out there that's false with what we do. And
Yeah.
just trying to be able to help somebody that needs to get a quick tip about a credit score or something is kind of, and it's unique. And I know like just talking with you, like gives me a little bit more inspiration to make more YouTube videos as well. Like describe like some of the different types of content that you make. Like what are you showing to these potential clients?
Well, it's been interesting the types of videos that I've made and how they've kind of evolved because some of the videos that I'm thinking like are the most boring videos of all time that nobody is going to like or watch are actually the ones that I get the most feedback from later on. Like, oh, I really like your driving videos. And so, like, so my driving videos, I'll just like, oh, I'm going to go through this neighborhood. I'll put my phone on the dash, record it, and then just put music over it or whatever. And like, no, we really like to see like what it actually looks like driving through that community. So, because at first I was going to stop doing those after a while. Because like, I don't know if this is really interesting, but people like them. So I do that, like community tours, house tours, market updates, reasons, kind of different information about St. Johns County, like why people might want to move here, why people should not move here.
I watched
So
that video. Reasons not to move to St. Johns County.
yeah,
I thought that was cool, right? Like because people want the truth. I feel like it, and especially now, like there's AI and there's all the other things. Like, everything is so fake, everything. And so, like somebody actually being truthful and saying, "Hey, like these are some of the reasons you're not gonna like it here."
yeah, and I think just too is me just being completely straightforward and upfront and direct with people. This is what it's like. If you don't think you can handle that or you don't think you're going to like it, this probably isn't the best place for you. So,
Interesting. Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, let's kind of pivot from YouTube and the good stuff that does. And I know, who knows, maybe you and I will do some collaboration videos here in the future because I
yeah,
think,
for sure.
and we'll at the end, I'll throw that down in the description for everybody so they can go check out your channel as well as the social media stuff and all that. Right. So, let's roll into today's hot topic. Okay. And so for today, I was trying to think, I'm like, what could Melissa and I talk about that would probably trigger some people and be fun? Because it's
Okay.
not fun and nobody likes it. And it's called homeowners insurance. So, as we know, being a transplant Floridian now myself, insurance a little bit more expensive down here, wouldn't you say?
I would. Yeah, I would. So, and I would say it kind of depends on where people are coming from.
Very true.
California.
Very true. A lot less expensive than it is in, certain areas in California. I would agree with that. Or even like New York City, I'm sure there's probably high insurance costs there as well.
Yeah, so it depends on where we have people coming from. And it also depends too, like, if you're living in a flood zone, how close are you to the beach, to the ocean or something like that? I mean, that can absolutely impact your insurance rates. And as you know, I mean, we've had a lot of insurance carriers the past year or so that have pulled out of Florida that no longer serve this area. So that's been tricky. But it's up there.
Yeah. And how are you bracing your clients for that expense, right? Because we had talked about at, a couple segments ago, like really just, hey, we'll get pre-approved, right? Because you want to see, hey, what your budget is. But sometimes I feel like clients don't understand the aspects of it if they're not talking with a lender that's very communicative. And they can get punched in the face really by a high insurance quote, right? So like, how are you mentally preparing a client, for that? without scaring them
Yeah, I mean,
away too, without scaring them away.
yeah, I mean, that's one of the first questions that I get asked when people are reaching out looking to move to this area is one, insurance cost and taxes.
Right.
So I can only give them, a range. I'm like, here's what I'm seeing based on this information for both. And then they can kind of decide from there. But I've never really had anybody complain or say, like, this is outrageous or this is way more than what I was paying before. So,
It's a good buffer too. Like everybody loves to dump on the insurance piece for Florida, but the taxes are really reasonable. I don't know how it is in St. Johns County, but I'm in Polk County, and the taxes are very very reasonable. So honestly, they're great in most locations. So really, you have a little bit of a higher insurance bump, but it tends to offset because taxes are lower. So you really do tend to see similar, and obviously it's case by case. I shouldn't even say this. I'm going to get probably torn apart for this. It's completely case by case, but I don't know. I feel like at least a lot of times, like the only worry I have, and I would love your opinion on this, right? And I don't know, how did the hurricane impact St. Johns County? Because we just got hit twice here in Polk County.
yeah, I mean, we're so knock on wood, like with the hurricanes, it's usually always just a miss, you know, down like historic St. Augustine, that always gets hammered. Like if we've got a storm coming through, it's going to flood there, but they're prepared for that. They know. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, we've been really lucky to it always usually skirts right around us.
Cool.
So I don't really feel like it's impacted our rates too much.
Interesting. Well, that's awesome. And I know that's the tough thing. Like I've talked to a lot of different insurance guys, and like it's hard. The entire state has its own like rating, right? So it's like you can't, like, St. Johns County might be a nice little pocket where like they could go insure there and not worry about it, but they got to worry about losses in other different parts. So there's a lot of different, like, you're all
I
in
know.
if you're an insurer down here. But that being said, I do have a positive outlook on it. I think that it is controllable. I think, eventually government will step in and there'll be some more competition and invite some more carriers in and some opportunity. In terms of advising my clients, I try to really just do the same and just kind of prepare them. But the nice part for me is I am the budget guy when they talk to me. So I just lay it out. Hey, this is what it might be. I'm not really sure. I'll go get a quote for you, or we can get one and we'll work it through. But I give my best estimate, and then we get the actual quote and we go from there. So more interesting, I think, for you trying to warn them on the front end about
I will say that, I mean, probably the biggest surprise to people, the biggest jump in expense is honestly not like home insurance, but like car insurance. So, yeah,
it.
that's
Yeah.
usually the big guys
Yeah.
here in this area.
No, I feel you. Car insurance is definitely up there too. It's interesting. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like, hey, if you want to be in Florida and you want to enjoy the great parts about it, then I think that you'll deal with it, right? I mean, I have friends that still live outside of New York City and they deal with it and they love it, right? But they deal with it. And so,
Right.
it is what it is. And I tell you, those beaches over there, I would deal with it for those beaches over there.
Absolutely. I mean, you kind of like it's been kind of chilly, but I mean, people are moving here for lifestyle and being able to not spend over half their year buried in snow, you know? So it's a trade
Yes, I
off.
do. I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. It is a trade-off. I think, anybody that's out there that's worried about the hurricane piece, like, I guess, why don't we talk about that because I've got a unique perspective there from that, going through a hurricane, or if anybody is thinking about, hey, I can never live in Florida because I would never be able to do a hurricane. Like, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, if they kind of track the weather and like the area that they're looking at, Northeast Florida, like I said, I think 1960 was the first or the last major hurricane that kind of really was devastating. Other than that, I mean, we get them that come through, but it just kind of skims over. I've been here, like 11, 12 years now. I've never had to evacuate for a hurricane. I've never left, and it's been fine. So,
Yeah. I just was fortunate I missed the last one there. That came through, but luckily we only had one tree down, so it wasn't anything too crazy. And I know that was one of the reservations that I had had. Not necessarily completely like, I'm not going to go there because of them. Like, and I mean, where I grew up, it's blizzards and ice storms. So it's, I mean, not that those are comparable. I mean, the hurricanes are absolutely insane. But that being said, when the Floridians aren't worried, I tend not to be too worried. It's kind of
Yeah.
how I gauge it.
Now, if I lived on the west coast of Florida, like the west side, I would probably reconsider living there.
Yeah,
Just because
well, especially
it gets
like north
hammered.
of Tampa. Like, I mean, wow, those areas have just been getting pummeled.
I mean, every hurricane season, it's like that side's getting hammered. And that's, I mean, yeah, it's beautiful over there. They have beautiful beaches. But again, you just have to take into consideration, like, okay, this is what's going to happen, like almost every hurricane season.
Yeah. It's give and
But
take. It was the hurricanes and the reptiles that was like, I don't really know. I don't swim in fresh water though. How about you? Do you swim in fresh water in Florida?
absolutely not.
Yeah, no. I don't know how they do it, Melissa. I don't know. To all my Florida friends that are watching this, I pray for you because I don't know. I don't know how you do it.
One time I made the mistake of telling this poor guy, oh my gosh, I think he was reconsidering even moving to Florida. But I was showing a home and there was like water behind the house. And it was it was like a gated, a little fence, like a metal black fence. And he was like, "Oh, do you think that there's alligators back there?" And I was like, "Absolutely. Any body of water here in Florida, you could probably count that there's going to be an alligator in there." I was like, once they reach a certain length, you can call, like they'll come remove them. But yeah. And I was like, "Did you know that alligators can climb a fence?"
Yeah. And
He
did
was
you
like,
you scared him, huh?
so I don't, yeah, they did not get that house. I'm pretty
No.
sure, yeah, they did not choose a house with water behind it after that.
But I get it. I would be worried if I had a little dog. I don't know, but they don't really mess with you too much from my knowledge of them. So I don't know. I've tried to just roll with the punches. I'll tell you, like, um, being down here this time of year, and even like the last 2 days or week or whatever, we've got this cold snap. I love it here. I mean, it is going to be beautiful for 8 more months, 6 more months, however long, we get it. And then, it gets real hot for 4 months. And then after that, we get 8 months of beautiful weather. And I don't know. How about you? Do you like living in Florida? You think you'll ever go anywhere else?
I love it. That's what I tell people all the time. It's like, yes, it gets really hot here. It gets insanely hot in the summer. But guess what? Like the other 8 months, it's literally like living in paradise. Like our weather is unbeatable. So can you give up 4 months of like insanely hot weather for like 8 months of paradise? That's kind of a good trade-off, you
Yeah,
know?
no, for sure. For sure. And it was funny, like where I came from, it was always the opposite. It was like, we have like the snow season, but like before you'd have the fall where it's just like gray and rainy and gloomy after you have all the beauty, right? And the nice weather and the leaves. And then the spring would just be mud fest and it would just be so, I mean, I've seen it snow in May in New York. So that was interesting. That was during COVID too. So that was a quadruple whammy of all sorts of fun stuff that we were dealing with. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just a different type of thing. And also, like, I don't know. I work from home, so I tend to be inside. I tend to hide in the AC. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We have AC everywhere we go, so it's doable. I just travel like when I get too hot, I'll just go up north somewhere and get a break from the heat and then come back down.
so you said at the beginning you love to travel, right? Like, what is one of the coolest places that you've been? Would you say?
Like stateside or
Well, I guess let's
overseas?
do both. Let's do stateside. What's your favorite spot that you've been stateside, and then we'll go overseas.
I mean, I've been pretty much I've been a lot of places stateside. Um I know that you're from that area, and it's crazy for me to even say because I'm from a small town in Arkansas where there's barely any people and there's like nothing but farms. But um, I really love New York City. I really love the city. And so I go there. I try to go there every year. Um, this year, I haven't been there. I know you're asking me my favorite places, but I'm just going to talk about where I want to go.
Yeah, no.
I really want to go to Maine this year, like
Okay.
Bar Harbor,
Yep.
Acadia National Park.
Yep.
I haven't been to like Wyoming. I want to go to Yellowstone, like those places. I took my daughter this past March. We went to Arizona. We went to like Flagstaff,
Cool.
Sedona, and I took her to the Grand Canyon. She'd never
Nice.
been.
That's awesome.
So that's beautiful. But yeah, just
Yeah,
I
I got to
love
get
to
out west.
explore. Yeah.
I've never been west of the Mississippi myself, so um, would love to do that. But I mean, there's so much stuff. Well, let's circle back to New York City thing because I still, and as, people are gonna hate me for this. I just don't get it. I mean, I've been 15 times at least. And I was always a kid. I never went like where I could like be 21 and go to different places. And I've heard that that's great. But since COVID, it was just like I don't even want to entertain trying to go up there, right? But like, what do you like about it being not like from a small town in Arkansas?
I think it's just like as soon as I get there, it's just the energy of the city. I mean, the energy changes. And like people were warning me, like, oh, like New York gets a bad rap. Like, no. I've I've not encountered like one rude person the entire time I've been there, but it's just the energy of it. I actually love all the different people. I love all the different cultures. I love that I can just walk out and within like a 2 block radius, I have endless amounts of shopping and food and restaurants and like these neat little like museums. And it's amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think too, another reason I love it is just the history of things and like the architecture and the buildings. It reminds me a lot of Europe. And so
Well,
yeah.
let's pivot to Europe, or not Europe, I should say, just anywhere outside of America. What's your where have you been that you would recommend?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, for sure. I mean, I loved living in England. I probably could have lived there forever. I was like maybe a 45-minute train ride into London.
Mm.
Um, but again, I'm like a nerd and I really love history and architecture and all of that kind of stuff and art. So that was like a paradise for me to be there and like standing somewhere like in a freaking castle. Um, but yeah, that was amazing. I really loved Austria. Um, just neat, like quaint, and again, back to all of the history and stuff. And then before I came back stateside, I actually had the opportunity to go to Cairo and see
Cool.
the pyramids, visit Egypt. And that was an experience and something I feel like everybody should do at least once in their life. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I got a lot of bucket list items, but I got to buy
Yeah,
a
do
lot
it,
more.
Colin.
I got to buy a lot more rental properties, and I'll start checking some vacations off. That's kind of the idea. Although I know I got to do it before it gets too late and all that good stuff. But yeah, I definitely I've been to Costa Rica. It's the only place I've been outside the states. So
How'd you like that? That's one place I haven't been that I want to go.
I always recommend it to anybody. I mean, I haven't been. I was a decade ago when I was there, but I really loved. We did Atlantic side and Pacific side, and it's just it's beautiful to be able to do that, like to go from one side to the other side. We did some volcanic hot springs, which were just amazing. Just some cool stuff. Rainforest zip lining, I definitely recommend that. We were like 2 miles up in the rainforest. That was cool. If you don't like heights, don't go to that.
Oh, oh
Might not be your thing, but
okay.
yeah, I would recommend it for sure. And I have friends now that have had like employees that have worked in Costa Rica remote for them and stuff. They love it. So I would definitely
Okay.
recommend going down for sure. But let's pivot away from travel and let's close things up with some closing time action. All right. And what I want to do is I want to try to center this around, because of the way that you opened it with, being a single agent, but having that group, right? Well, it's any agents or people that aren't like in real estate thinking about getting in. What's the best piece of advice that you've received so far in your career?
That's such a good question. And there's so many different um, things that I could say here. But gosh, without being like long winded and going in a roundabout way, the best piece of advice is that, I mean, I would say you are your biggest competitor. You are your like own worst enemy. And it's really just getting your mindset right and staying focused on in your lane on what you want to do and being able to be bold and going against the grain. People always want to pivot and they're switching back and forth and just going where everybody else is going and following everybody else and what everybody else is doing. And you kind of just have to like take a moment and really like listen to your own like intuition and just have that laser focus to be able to kind of stand out and do things a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like it. I mean, I think that's amazing. The mindset thing is really where I like live and die there, because I had such a negative mindset for so long, and now like I shouldn't say I'm positive. I'm a recovering negative person. That's what I would say. But it does change your life. I don't look at my competitors. I don't really have any. I don't really think in my head. I just like people, and I think even if you do what I do, as long as you do it well and help agents that I like, I don't really care. And as long as you're not screwing clients, right? Like, we're all friends.
Yeah.
Right? That's what it is. So.
Well, here's the thing. It's like you have to be willing to show up in your life, and you have to have the courage to be disliked. Because you could be freaking Mother Teresa, like you could be the greatest person on the planet. There's going to be people that don't like you.
Yeah.
So once you decide like that you want to go after something and you start putting your face out there and you show up on video and you show up on social, you're going to get people that do not like you, but you have to be able to stand there and have that courage to be disliked and realize that you're not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay because those aren't your people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, that was awesome as well. So let's roll into what one book recommendation or a podcast, right? Because I know we talked about YouTube and podcast, even a YouTube channel, right? Like, what do you recommend for somebody out there that is, thinking about doing real estate business?
Oh my gosh. I listen to a ton of podcasts. I'm always, trying to like learn and be better and improve. I feel like anybody in their life, regardless if they're in, what business that you're in, just in regular life, like you should be dedicating time every single day, even if it's just 15, 20, 30 minutes of like learning and how can you improve in little spots in your life. I can't say that there's any like one book or podcast. This book is not real estate related or business related, but I feel like it had a huge impact on changing my life, and it's a little bit woo woo. But it's oh gosh, and you asked me that, and it's a book by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
And gosh, I need to look that up real quick. It's like let me look it up real quick. But after I read that, and I've read it twice now, and it's a lot of mindset stuff, but it's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Yeah, podcast is a great way to not have to scroll through all these books I need to read. I could just have people tell me which ones I need to read. It's great.
Yeah. Hey, and then you know what? Then we have this great thing called ChatGPT, and you can literally type. So after this, I don't know if you want to talk about this at all, or maybe after you can tell me, do you use ChatGPT at all in your business or personal life?
I live with ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT and I are one. I mean, at this point, the only person I talk to more than my girlfriend and my team lead would be ChatGPT.
Absolutely. So that's a great way. Like if there's if there's a book or something you need, like, hey, can you break down what this book is about? Give me bullet points. What are the most highlighted, verses in this book? What are the biggest takeaways? What can and then like even break it down further. Like what are some things that I can implement? And I mean, it's just amazing what you can do with that.
It's crazy. Here's a hack for you and anybody else out there that wants. One of the things I just discovered that you can feed it YouTube videos by feeding it the transcription. And so I've got this tool that will do instant transcriptions on YouTube videos. And so, if you want to become an expert on something, for example, we were doing some texting outreach, right? So I did a bunch of research on YouTube, and then the chatbot learned all that. I mean, it learned probably 12 hours of content in seconds. And we were just getting some amazing, like specifically tailored things that we wanted done. I've had it help me with my podcast as well. So it's
absolutely,
it's just awesome. I love it.
I mean, I use it not only in my business, but like I have it make me like a meal plan for the week.
Oh,
make me a grocery list.
Yeah.
I helped with travel plans. Like if I'm traveling somewhere.
Oh, really? I haven't done that yet.
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
have it make me like an itinerary based on when I'm going to be there and a packing list. I mean, it's fun. You can have a lot of fun with it, but then it's also great for productivity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool. Well, so where can everybody find you online, right? Let's talk about that. I'll link everything down in the description below, but what's your handles?
Yeah, so on Facebook and Instagram, I'm St. Johns County Realtor, and then my YouTube channel, Living in St. Johns County. Um, I think I mean, everybody can kind of have the same channel name. So there's probably a lot of those out there. But if it's just like living in St. Johns County and then my name, Melissa Anderson, I should pop up.
Cool.
And my website is themelissaandersongroup.com.
.com. You got it. Well, Melissa Anderson, I just want to say, I know we've been going back and forth and we were trying to schedule it last year, but I'm happy we did it this year to start the year super strong. Thanks so much for taking the time today. It's been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Colin, and best wishes in the new year. But I'm sure we'll be staying in contact.
Absolutely.